Dear readers, leaders, visionaries, and changemakers, lend me your ears. Have you ever found yourself drowning in endless conversations, offering solutions, and feeling as though you alone must carry the weight of every decision, every problem, every challenge? What if I told you that the key to becoming a truly transformative leader isn't found in giving more answers, but in asking better questions? Welcome to the coaching habit. Say less, ask more, and change the way you lead forever by Bungay Stanier. This is not just a book. It is a paradigm shift, a revelation, a call to revolutionize the way we lead, guide, and inspire those around us. If you have ever longed for a leadership style that fosters independence, unlocks potential, and builds a culture of innovation, then prepare yourself, because what you are about to discover will change everything. Think of the greatest leaders in history, the mentors, the coaches, the visionaries who moved mountains and ignited change. What set them apart was not their ability to dictate, but their ability to guide. They understood the immense power of curiosity, the art of the well-placed question, the genius in allowing others to find their own answers. And now, through the pages of this book, you too will learn the secret to unlocking the potential of those you lead, one question at a time. Too often, we believe that leadership is about having all the answers. We fall into the habit of rescuing, micromanaging, and fixing, unaware that we are stifling creativity, eroding confidence, and chaining ourselves to an unsustainable cycle. But what if there was another way? What if, instead of always being the expert, you became the catalyst for change? What if, instead of working harder, you worked smarter by cultivating a habit of coaching? In the coaching habit, Bungay Stanier distills years of coaching expertise into 7 simple, yet profoundly impactful questions, questions that will revolutionize your conversations, redefine your leadership, and free you from the exhausting need to have all the answers. With humor, clarity, and actionable strategies, this book will teach you how to integrate coaching into your daily interactions in a way that is practical, effective, and transformative. Are you ready to shift from advice giver to coach? Are you prepared to lead with wisdom, curiosity, and empowerment? Then join me as we embark on a journey to reshape the way we lead, one powerful question at a time. This is the coaching habit. Your transformation starts now. Part 1 Summary of the Coaching Habit. Say less, ask more, and change the way you lead forever by Bungay Stanier. Introduction. The power of coaching in everyday conversations. Imagine this. You're a leader, a manager, a mentor, someone people turn to for guidance. Every day, you're answering questions, solving problems, and putting out fires. But here's the real question. Are you truly empowering those around you? Or are you unintentionally creating dependency? This is the fundamental problem that Bungay Stanier addresses in the coaching habit. He challenges the traditional notion of leadership, where managers feel the need to provide solutions, and instead presents a radical but simple shift. Great leaders don't give answers. They ask powerful questions. Stanier introduces coaching not as a formal, hour-long session with deep introspection, but as a daily habit woven into your interactions. It's about transforming your leadership style from advice giver to curious coach. And how do we do this? By mastering the art of asking 7 essential questions, questions designed to spark clarity, creativity, and self-sufficiency in those we lead. So, let's dive into part 1 of this book and discover the first 3 powerful questions that can change the way you lead forever. Chapter 1. The Kickstart Question. What's on your mind? Imagine stepping into a conversation that's about to spiral into small talk or vague problem sharing. You want to get to the heart of the matter quickly, but without forcing the direction. That's where the Kickstart question comes in. What's on your mind? This question is deceptively simple, but its brilliance lies in its openness. It invites the other person to bring forward what truly matters to them, without pressure, without assumptions. Stanier explains that this question accomplishes 3 critical things. 1. It gets straight to the point. No more beating around the bush. People naturally talk about what's most pressing. 2. It signals trust and autonomy. Instead of dictating the conversation, you give them control over what's discussed. 3. It creates an emotional connection. It allows the other person to share their worries, struggles, or aspirations, fostering a deeper level of engagement. This question works in any scenario, whether you're leading a team, mentoring a colleague, or even having a deep conversation with a friend. But here's where the magic happens. Once they respond, resist the urge to jump in with solutions. Instead, you follow up with the next game-changing question. Chapter 2. The AWE question. And what else? Now, let's say someone answers your Kickstart question. They start talking about a pressing issue, a work challenge, or a frustration. Your instinct? Offer advice. But not so fast. This is where the second powerful question comes in. And what else? Or simply, AWE. Why does this work? Because the first thing someone says is rarely the complete picture. People tend to surface their thoughts in layers. Asking, and what else, does 3 things. 1. It deepens the conversation. It prompts them to dig further, unveiling hidden issues or opportunities. 2. It prevents you from jumping into fix-it mode. Instead of giving advice too soon, you encourage them to explore their own thoughts. 3. It empowers them to self-reflect. By asking this, you help them discover their own answers, rather than just relying on you. Stanier calls this the best coaching question in the world because it stops leaders from being the advice monster, the person who always rushes to give answers instead of fostering deeper thinking. And here's the secret. Don't just ask once. Ask it 2, 3, or even 4 times. Each time you do, you'll get a richer, more meaningful response. Imagine how different your leadership would be if, instead of solving problems for your team, you encourage them to think deeper and explore more possibilities. Now, once you've peeled back those layers, how do you narrow in on the real issue? That's where the next question comes in. Chapter 3. The focus question. What's the real challenge here for you? At this point, your conversation partner has probably shared multiple ideas, frustrations, or obstacles. They've poured out their thoughts, and it's easy to get lost in all the details. This is where most managers make a crucial mistake. They focus on the first problem instead of the right problem. And that's why the third essential question is so powerful. What's the real challenge here for you? This question does something remarkable. It cuts through the noise and zeroes in on the core issue. Here's why this question is a game changer. 1. It forces clarity. Instead of tackling superficial problems, it encourages the other person to reflect on what truly matters. 2. It personalizes the issue. By adding for you, you shift the focus to what they can control or change. 3. It prevents problem hopping. Without this question, conversations tend to drift between multiple challenges. This question keeps the discussion focused. Stanier provides a fantastic insight here. Most people think they know their problem, but they don't. They confuse symptoms with root causes. This question forces them to dig deeper and pinpoint the real challenge, not just the surface-level frustration. And the best part? Once they identify the real challenge, they are far more likely to find their own solution. At this moment, as a leader or coach, you have achieved something powerful. You've engaged them by asking, "What's on your mind?" You've expanded their thinking with, "And what else?" You focus them by asking, "What's the real challenge here for you?" By this point, they aren't just venting anymore. They're thinking, they're problem-solving, and most importantly, they're taking ownership. Closing thoughts on part 1. As we wrap up this first section of the coaching habit, here's what we've learned so far. Great leaders don't jump in with advice. Instead, they ask thoughtful, open-ended questions. The Kickstart question, "What's on your mind?" sparks meaningful conversations. The AWE question, "And what else?" pushes people to dig deeper. The focus question, "What's the real challenge here for you?" narrows in on what really matters. With just these three questions, you can radically change the way you lead, mentor, and communicate. But we're just getting started. In part 2, we'll explore the next set of transformative coaching questions, ones that help people take action, overcome resistance, and create real change. Are you ready to unlock the full power of coaching? Then let's move forward. Part 2 Summary. Introduction. Moving from insight to action. So far, we've uncovered 3 game-changing questions that transform the way you lead. The kickstart question: what's on your mind? To spark deep conversations. The AWE question: and what else? To uncover layers of insight. The focus question: what's the real challenge here for you? To pinpoint the core issue. By now, you're no longer just a leader who dispenses advice. You're a coach who guides others to think for themselves. But here's the thing: insight alone isn't enough. To truly create impact, we need to move from understanding the problem to taking action. And that's exactly what part 2 of the coaching habit is all about. In this section, we'll explore the next 4 essential coaching questions that will help people take ownership, find solutions, and build long-term growth. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Chapter 4. The foundation question. What do you want? Picture this. You've had a great conversation with your employee, mentee, or colleague. They've identified the real challenge. But suddenly they seem stuck, uncertain, maybe even frustrated.
Why?
Because they don't know what they truly want. That's where the foundation question comes in. What do you want? At first, this question may seem too simple. But don't be fooled. It's one of the most difficult and powerful questions you can ask. Here's why it works. 1. It forces clarity. Many people complain about their problems without ever identifying what they really want as an outcome. 2. It creates accountability. Instead of focusing on what they don't want, they now have to articulate what they do want. 3. It prevents passive-aggressive conversations. Ever been in a situation where someone keeps hinting at something but never says it outright? This question eliminates that. Stanier emphasizes that when you ask, "What do you want?" be prepared for hesitation. Many people haven't thought about it deeply enough. They might default to vague answers like, "I just want things to be better. I want them to stop bothering me. I want things to work out." But those aren't real answers. Your job is to gently push them to be specific. Keep asking, "And what else?" until they get to something concrete. Once they know what they want, it's time to explore the next critical question. Chapter 5. The lazy question. How can I help? Here's a truth bomb. Most leaders accidentally create dependency.
How?
By constantly jumping in to fix things. Someone comes to them with a problem, and instead of coaching, they say, "Let me handle that. Here's what you should do. I'll take care of it." And just like that, they become the bottleneck, the person who has to solve everything. To break this cycle, Stanier introduces the lazy question. How can I help? This question is a game changer for 3 reasons. 1. It shifts the responsibility back to them. Instead of assuming what they need, you make them articulate it. 2. It prevents unnecessary work. Sometimes, what people need isn't what you assume. Asking this question clarifies expectations. 3. It reinforces boundaries. You're offering help, but in a way that keeps them accountable for their own growth. The brilliance of this question is that it puts the burden of clarity on the other person. They have to think about what kind of support they actually need, whether it's advice, feedback, or just someone to listen. But here's the kicker. Sometimes, what they want isn't reasonable. That's where the next question comes in. Chapter 6. The strategic question. If you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? Now, let's imagine the conversation is moving forward. The person has identified what they want, and they've asked for help. They're ready to take action. But wait, there's a catch. Every time we say yes to something, we are automatically saying no to something else. This is where the strategic question comes in. If you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? This question is essential because 1. It forces prioritization. People often want to do everything, but they can't. This question helps them focus. 2. It reveals trade-offs. Every decision has a cost. By asking this, you help them weigh their choices more carefully. 3. It protects time and energy. Many leaders and employees take on too much because they never stop to consider what needs to be sacrificed. Stanier shares an important insight. Saying yes more often doesn't make you more productive, it makes you more overwhelmed. This question ensures that every yes is intentional and aligned with their true priorities. Now, we've covered 6 of the 7 powerful questions. The final one? It's all about reflection and learning. Chapter 7. The Learning Question. What was most useful to you? You've just had a deep, impactful coaching conversation. The other person has uncovered their real challenge, clarified what they want, figured out how you can help, and made strategic choices. Now, you want to make sure they actually retain what they've learned. That's why the final question is so crucial. What was most useful to you? Why is this such a powerful question? 1. It reinforces learning. By asking them to reflect, you help solidify insights in their mind. 2. It shifts the focus to action. Instead of just talking, they now see what they can apply moving forward. 3. It gives you feedback. As a leader or coach, you now understand what actually helped them the most, so you can refine your approach. Stanier explains that people don't learn when you tell them something. They learn when they reflect on what they've experienced. By ending with this question, you ensure that your coaching sticks. Closing thoughts on part 2. At this point, you are no longer just a manager. You are a transformational leader. You've learned how to guide others through insightful conversations that spark clarity, ownership, and action. Here's what we covered in part 2. The foundation question. What do you want? For clarity and focus. The lazy question. How can I help? To avoid unnecessary work. The strategic question. If you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? For smarter decisions. The learning question. What was most useful to you? To reinforce key takeaways. When used together, these 7 questions create a coaching habit that transforms not just how you lead, but how people learn, grow, and take responsibility. But what does it look like to apply this method daily? How do you ensure these coaching habits stick long-term? That's exactly what we'll explore in part 3, where we unlock practical strategies to make coaching a way of life. Are you ready to level up your leadership forever? Let's continue. Part 3 Summary. Introduction. From knowing to doing. You now have the 7 essential coaching questions, powerful tools that transform the way you lead. No more over-explaining, fixing, or micromanaging. Instead, you've learned how to ask better questions, guide deeper conversations, and empower others to take ownership of their challenges. But let's be real, knowing something isn't the same as doing it. You might think, I understand these questions, but how do I make them a habit? How do I avoid slipping back into old patterns? What does this look like in real-life leadership? That's what part 3 is all about, embedding these coaching habits into your daily routine so they become second nature. Let's dive in. Chapter 8. The Science of Building Habits That Stick. Have you ever set a goal to change the way you lead, only to fall back into old habits within weeks? You're not alone. Stanier reveals the secret. Willpower isn't enough, but designing habits is. Here's how habits work. Trigger. Something happens that kicks off the behavior. Behavior. You take action or react in a certain way. Reward. Your brain gets a payoff that reinforces the habit. For example, trigger. Someone asks for help. Behavior. You give advice immediately. Reward. You feel useful and needed. Sound familiar? This is how most leaders accidentally build a habit of rescuing instead of coaching. The fix. Creating coaching habits. To make the coaching habit stick, you must rewire your default reactions. 1. Identify your triggers. What situations cause you to jump into fix-it mode? 2. Rewire your response. Instead of giving advice, practice asking one of the 7 coaching questions. 3. Reinforce the reward. Notice the long-term impact of coaching: more empowered employees, fewer problems, and stronger teams. Chapter 9. How to coach in 10 minutes or less. One of the biggest myths about coaching? It takes too much time. Most leaders imagine long, drawn-out conversations, but the coaching habit proves that coaching can be done in 10 minutes or less. Here's how. Start with a kickstart question. What's on your mind? This gets the person talking quickly and surfaces important issues. Use the AWE question. And what else? This digs deeper and uncovers layers beneath the surface. Ask the focus question. What's the real challenge here for you? This stops people from venting and shifts the conversation toward solutions. End with the learning question. What was most useful to you? This solidifies learning and ensures they walk away with a key takeaway. Pro tip: you don't need to use all 7 questions every time. Even 1 or 2 well-placed questions can transform a conversation. Chapter 10. Making coaching a daily leadership habit. Now, you might be wondering, how do I make coaching a seamless part of my leadership? Stanier offers practical strategies to integrate coaching into your daily routine. 1. Use the question before advice rule. Before you give advice, force yourself to ask at least 1 coaching question. Instead of, here's what I think, try, what's the real challenge here for you? 2. Set reminders. Old habits are strong. Set sticky notes, calendar alerts, or phone reminders with coaching questions to keep them top of mind. 3. Practice in small conversations. Start with low-stakes situations, quick check-ins, casual chats, or even emails. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. 4. Encourage a coaching culture. Teach your team the 7 questions, so they start using them too. This creates a ripple effect. Everyone becomes more solution-focused and independent. Final thoughts: the shift from manager to coach. By now, you understand that great leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions. You no longer have to solve every problem. You no longer have to carry the weight of every decision. You no longer have to be the hero in every situation. Instead, you've learned how to empower others to think, grow, and solve problems themselves. That's what makes an exceptional leader. So the next time someone comes to you with a problem, pause for a moment. Take a breath. And instead of jumping in with a solution, simply ask, what's on your mind? That's how real coaching begins. Now, go out and lead differently. Thanks for listening to Book Buzz reviews and summaries. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new video updates.